Sorry. 3.
And welcome to another edition of the Plus 10 podcast. My name is Matt Bosco, and I'm your host. With me today, as usual, is my favorite co-pilot, Stephen Brummel.
Hey, guys.
This is the week of January 9th. I'm so thrown off because of the holiday. It's the January 19th, right?
I don't know. Today's the 20th, so.
Yes, January 19th. 2015. That still feels weird to say 2015. I feel like it's the future, but everything else around me is the past.
Back to the future is where we're going.
Yeah.
It is that year.
It is. The Cubs should win the World Series, if I'm correct, right?
People are predicting it, so I don't know. They got John Lester, who can pitch once every 5 days, so you know they're going to win the World Series.
That means they should win 40 games, if my math is correct.
At least.
Yeah. Well, gosh, while we're fantasizing about Cubs World Series, I've been fantasizing.
No?
You're a White Sox fan, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. Well, I really just don't care enough about baseball, to be completely honest.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that could be. Well, Steve, I've been fantasizing over the past 3 days over something that is not. It doesn't have anything to do with baseball.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's been, let's put it this way, Steve. For the past, and I'm going to theorize here. I'm looking at, this is my Fatal Frame 2 director's cut.
Xbox regular is what it is.
Xbox regular. I want to say that this game came out early 2004 it went to the director's cut, so that means it probably came out 2003, 2002-ish for the PlayStation 2. So how many years is that, Steve? That's more than 10 now. That's probably around
10 to 11. If it's 2004 when your version came out, it's my guess is it's still about 10 and a half years, give or take.
Right, and then you add the year because before it came out with the director's cut, it was only on PlayStation 2. So,
right.
So yeah, okay, you're right. 10, 11, maybe 12 years. For 12 years, this game has been my favorite game of all time. When people ask me, Matt, you run plus 10 damage, I mean, you're a video game guy, what's your favorite game? It was always Fatal Frame 2. Now, I'm not going to jump the gun because I know that I sent you a text message and you were like, well, hold your horses.
You were pretty darn set on being like, this is it. This is the next game. Oh my goodness, I've loved this forever.
But I just have not. So I've been playing a lot of Let's Plays recently, and I downloaded the Evolve beta, and I'm really excited because this is the type of game that I feel encompasses all the games that I really enjoy. I'm a huge League of Legends fan, right? I enjoy third-person games, right? And the funny thing is, I'm not much of a first-person shooter, but I like squad-based first-person shooters. So Borderlands, in a sense, where you get to pick a different role and you go from there, right?
Yes.
So Evolve has effectively combined all three of those things and just has gotten me excited about A, playing a first-person shooter, B, playing online multiplayer, and C, it's given me that nostalgic feel of playing Mech Assault online for the first time when Xbox Live first came out, which I think is huge, right? So, what do you want to know about Evolve, Steve? Because I want this to be some sort of cohesive statement that I'm putting out without me just fanboying all over the place.
Okay, well, actually, my first question is, I had no idea that it was first person. So, is it first person for both the squad or just the monster, or both of them are first person?
It is first person just for the squad members. So you've got 4 different roles on the team. You have the assault character who puts out a ton of damage. You have the medic who obviously heals. You have the support player which will buff you or might put a damage buff on the monster, and then you have the Trapper, which is a really unique role because it's non-traditional in the sense of these squad-based games. I've never heard of a role as a Trapper, and the whole point of being a Trapper is you can create this huge, almost Thunderdome thing that goes over the monster and you guys, right? And the other, you might have a harpoon gun to slow them down. You might put up harpoon traps to, if the monster walks through it, they'll get stuck into it. It's just a really unique role, but it fits so well in the scheme of this game. So yeah, it's third person for the squad, or I'm sorry, it's first person for the squad, but it's third person as a monster.
So the keeper. I'm sorry, the Trapper, does it
Yes.
keep things as well? I just ruined that joke. Man!
You went too hard for the keeper part.
Dang it!
Yeah.
I was right there.
You were. It was going to be really good. I felt like I was in 7th grade again, and I couldn't fit everything into my locker.
Oh, I was so excited for it, and I had it within my grasp, and I was like, yeah, keep... No! All right, besides that one. So what's your favorite class... Okay, what's your favorite class to play not monster?
Okay, so I'll start off by saying playing as the monster is my favorite.
Okay.
However, my favorite class outside of the monster it's come in waves, which made me feel good because I was like, wow, I can enjoy all of these things, but it's a deadlock tie between the medic and the support. I really like the third tier medic, which I was able to play as the third tier characters due to the fact that I pre-ordered the game. So if you pre-ordered the game during the beta, you got to play as a third monster and the third tier of characters in each of their roles. So the third tier character, I think Kiera is her name as far as the medic is concerned, so her main weapon is a kind of a grenade launcher, and it can either shoot out like these fiery grenades or like health grenades. So I can shoot at my own members as we're across from each other to give them health, which I thought was really cool. So I really like
explosion to heal.
Yeah, right. It's crazy, but it totally works in the scheme of it, and every medic is so different where it's worth trying out a few different ones, which is great. And the thing I like about the support, I like the third tier support as well, but the first support that you get is pretty awesome too. He has the ability to buff and protect his allies from damage, while at the same time he has an airstrike that he can call in on the monster, which just looks awesome. It's really great. So yeah, I would say those are my two favorites roles right now, but that can change at any minute just because you can find fun in any role.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in the beta, did you get to play? I'm sorry. In the beta, did you get to play all of the different monsters, or was there only like one or two that were unlocked for you?
So there's a progression-based system, and it's nice because it allows people to feel comfortable in a role before kind of taking on more. And in order to unlock the second monster, I had to do some things with the first monster, which is the Goliath, is the first one that you get. The best way I could describe it to people who haven't played the game is he's kind of like a mini Godzilla. He can breathe fire, he can charge through things. His leaping ability is pretty good, so to get from area to area, it's interesting. So yeah, you start there. I unlocked the Kraken, which is my favorite monster so far. And then, because I pre-ordered, I got to play as the Wraith, which I think is a very difficult character to take down, but definitely really cool, and they're all very unique in their own right.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How many maps were available to you?
I want to say there was 3, if I remember correctly. My favorite probably being the Dam. Was really cool, and I'm hoping I'm calling this the right one, but because it had more of a nighttime setting, and it would start raining randomly, and just created a really cool ambiance. I'm really excited to see how many maps there are going to be. I know that a lot of people have been freaking out because this game has really been engineered as something to be able to capture more and more people with DLC. Right. And however, if I'm correct, I read something that said, maps will always be free. And you'll never be held back by not purchasing something, which I think is great. You'll still be able play with people who have purchased more. I got excited. Unlike most people in the community who are really upset about it, as somebody who's been so adjusted to something like that in the League of Legends community, it's exciting to me to be like, oh, cool, I can extend this experience and it can be a ton of fun if I want this thing, or I cannot and it's still okay. But that's not where the League of Legends comparison stops. So the game mode that was available before the evacuation mode, which I'll get into, was the hunter mode, hunt mode. Why this is really cool, Steve, is you start off as a monster and you're at level 1. You can go up to 3 levels, and the hunters in essence are chasing you down at level 1. Well, as you're feeding on the wildlife, you're gaining armor and you're gaining this experience that will allow you to evolve. And as you evolve, it's interesting to see how the hunted becomes the hunter, and all of a sudden you start kind of coming back after the hunters, which is really cool, and I really enjoyed that game mode.
So you talked a little bit about DLC and things that will be available to others later.
Yeah.
There made news this week with Evolve with the pre-order bonus that was the 4th monster, if I'm not mistaken, and
the behemoth.
The behemoth, which looks awesome.
Awesome.
And it's the ground monster, right? If I'm not mistaken.
And I've seen some of the pre-rendered stuff with him, and he can raise walls up out of the ground and just roll people. I cannot wait to play as him. Yeah.
So that one's a little controversial because what they're doing with it is if you don't pre-order this game, if you pre-order it, you get it for free when it comes out. It's not an immediate day one thing. I think it's like a month or 2 later.
Right.
But if you don't pre-order it, then it's going to cost you $15. And as far as we're aware, it's $15 for that monster and that monster alone. No extra maps, no extra hunters. As far as we're aware, is that correct?
As far as we're aware, yes. However, when it comes to extra maps, you're never going to have to pay for those.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So then the next question is, because you don't want to pay those extra $15, did you pre-order this game and for the Xbox One or the PS4?
I pre-ordered for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I know, crazy, but I've got, like I was saying,
money back.
I know, seriously. So I have friends that I've convinced to get it on the PlayStation 4, but I've been spending all this time in the beta on the Xbox One, and I wanted to have access to that stuff during the beta so I can get the most out of the experience that I could, number one, but then just to reconfirm, like, yes, I'm excited about this, and I'm bought in on it. So I'm very excited. I bought the regular standard version for the Xbox One. I bought the deluxe version for the PlayStation 4.
So what do you get in the deluxe version?
The deluxe version is kind of like you get the season pass in a sense. So it's, which is the equivalent to, I want to say, like $25 or $29 or something like that. So it'll open up to me getting more monsters and whatnot. The beauty of it is, though, like if the monsters are $14.99, I'm not even upset about it. Like, I think that they add so much to the game and the experience of the game, and as long as they're not putting these things out, to the point of where I feel like I can never catch up or never really appreciate them, I'm okay with it. I think it's brilliant. It gives this is that type of game where I'm like, I cannot wait to get more monsters. Like, the imagination can run so far with this, which I think is so great.
I've got to think that the balance is going to be so difficult to do that you're going to get, if you're lucky, you'll get a monster every 6 months. That's what's in my head.
That's great. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm perfectly fine. I still had fun playing as Goliath, which was the first monster that I had available. Every monster is fun. Every monster has their upside and their potential. Goliath, more of a ground and pound and fire guy. The Kraken can fly and drop down a lot of electricity. Every time I yelled out, "Release the Kraken," whenever I had a chance to fight. So that was fun. And then the Wraith is almost this cerebral. You remember the Matrix?
I don't remember the Matrix. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, there's these sentinel-like things that move around, and it reminds me of that. Okay. I was going to say, I can't believe that you haven't seen The Matrix. But
no, I have.
Yeah, they're and it's very cerebral, but has low armor. They all have their perks. Steve, I love this game. I love it, and I am having a tough time. If I can have that much fun in a very enclosed beta, I can only imagine when I get my full hands on the game. I'm really excited. They have this very last note. They've got this other mode called, I want to say it's Extraction or whatever it may be, but it's more of like the story mode and how story mode is all interconnected. So I can jump in and I'll be the monster all throughout the story mode, or I'll be in, the group of hunters all throughout the story mode. So yeah, it looks good.
All right.
Looks real good.
So I have two more questions for you for this, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
My first question is: after the beta, do you feel like you've basically played the entirety of the game?
No. And the reason is because that was only 3 maps. I want to say there's 12 potentially. And the maps are so integral to you being successful, especially as the hunter, or the hunters. I got to a point where I discovered something about pulling up the map HUD, and one of the hunters ended up having this kind of sound stick that they put in the ground, and if the monster would pass through the area, it ended up it would show up on your map and everything. So it was one of those things where I was strategically putting it around the map and it would show up. There's just so much strategy to it, and it feels almost like a MOBA in the sense of you can give me these scenarios every time and they will be interesting and new all the time too. Other big thing, you have to communicate in this game. So all the people that like to have their headsets off, you're going to fail 80% of the time if you don't.
Well, not buying this game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like I think that's the thing. So many games have become so you could be in this kind of solitary confinement and be okay. This is not one of those games, and I love that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
My last question for you is: if you were to pinpoint your one favorite thing in Evolve that you've seen so far, what is your one favorite thing?
It's gonna be hard to say just one. Playing as
one.
Okay, fine. Playing as a monster. And the reason is because I think games have tried to give you the power of being the bad guy before, but the raw power of being the bad guy has never truly been there. I think Gears of War gave you the option to play as, the gosh, I can't even remember what the bad guys in Gears of War are called anymore. How terrible is that? The Locust, right? So you got to it was cool because you got to use some of the powers of the Locust, but they never felt truly powerful.
They never felt that different.
No, it was just like a reskinned cog in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But when you're Goliath, you're like, I can take on some beating, and when you're running at them and you're just tossing the hunters around, you're like, holy cow, this is crazy. And then as a hunter, to see this thing coming at you from a different vantage point, because in the terms of the screen, your scale, you look pretty big, but because the environment's so large, you're like, okay, cool. But as a hunter, as you're looking up at some of these things, you're like, how am I going to take this down? So that's really cool to really feel that power. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
How about a beer?
Oh.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
No.
Oh man, I just spilled beer all over my.
That's what you get. That's what you get for messing around.
I know. All right. Well, so I have two thoughts that I want to talk about for games that I've been playing in the past week. I've been playing a lot more Forza Horizon 2.
And
I still think, and we talked about this a little bit off the air, we should have pushed a lot harder for that game. That game is phenomenal.
Talk about it. What is it that's really captivating you even more?
Well, like it's what it does perfectly for a racing game that not most racing games don't do is that it gives you racing in bite-sized chunks. Like I don't think I've done a race that's been longer than 8 minutes.
Yes.
Like I can't think of any time I've raced longer than 8 minutes for anything.
Have you done your first championship yet? Like true championship after you collect them all? And you have, that file?
I think I'm 2 or 3 away.
Okay, that will be the longest race that you do.
Oh, where's my cursor? There it is. How long is that race, give or take?
I want to say about 18 to 20 minutes. But I mean, it's a long race. But I mean, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like get me out of this race already. I was like, okay, cool. Like that made sense that was the main race. So
I mean,
yeah.
it's long compared to the rest of the races, but if you threw in Gran Turismo or even Forza, Forza 5 or the upcoming Forza 6, which they randomly announced last week,
Mhm.
those races are a lot longer than what you get with
Right.
the other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Other things I love about I love the cars, and I love the fact that whenever you buy a car, they immediately take you to the store where you can just choose anybody else's skins that they've created.
Hmm.
So I was running around a long time in the Jurassic Park Jeep. I have a car with the Batmobile like or like the bat symbol on it. Like
Yes.
I've been like exploring all the cars that they have and just like going all over the place with it. It's hilarious. I think I even texted you. I was like, I raced around a Jurassic Park car. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah, they really. I like that they really promote user-generated content too in a
All the
really cool
time.
way. Hmm.
Yeah, I love and I love the fact that every race is they're different. That sometimes you have lap races where you're going through towns. Sometimes your laps are out in the countryside. You're
Hmm.
going through fields. You're racing against a jet. Like you're doing how do they even think that Forza 6 is going to come close to what Forza Horizon 2 is? Like
Yeah.
in our Game of the Year podcast, I talked about possibly saying like this could be the best racing game of all time. In my mind, and honestly, in my mind at this point, it is.
Yes.
I've been playing it for over a month now, and I've never done that. Even Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original,
Hmm.
never played for this long before. Like this is so cool. Like I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it is really impressive, and I would have to agree with you. It's something where you can enjoy it in bursts, or you can play it over a long time span. It does a really good job uh, making you feel good about the progression that you're making as well.
Yeah, and like it's a constant race against other people where you jumped ahead of me for like a week straight because I just couldn't play.
Yeah,
And I'm in a mad dash to catch up to you now. Like I
yeah,
got to I think 36 on my wristband, and I think you're in the 50s, and so I'm like
could be.
hauling. However,
Yeah.
I had a situation where I got paired up in one of my races against somebody who was like an 89 or 90 or something like that,
Wow.
like just ridiculous. And I'm like,
Wow.
I want that. I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be up there,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna keep. And you just got to keep going
Yep.
because how could you not? And I finally got over $1 million saved up in my bank because
Congratulations.
I've been buying the cheapest cars that I can so I can buy
Mhm.
my super phenomenal, just the car that everybody wants car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just bought like a $1.5 million Lamborghini, and here's
Ooh,
an interesting thing. I enjoy playing in that vehicle from the cockpit versus the third person view.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing that too a lot. I was doing the third person view for a long time, and then recently I was like, a lot of people have been doing the cockpit views, and all I could think to myself is I need to do more of this. I need to try it and see how I like it. And there's
Yeah,
some races where it works. Some races are better than others. Like
I agree.
the off road races are
Mhm.
really difficult when you put it in first person mode because you can't see where you need to go nearly as well as you could in the
Yes.
third person mode.
Mhm.
In the city though, if you're running around the cities, not a problem. Like
Yeah.
and go just jumping off the gun. Like as soon as the green light hits in first person mode is way better than third person.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
like oh, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So
Yeah.
that was my thing. Like we should have pushed really hard for that sucker to be up higher.
I know.
Um,
Shame on us.
I'm starting to regret not making it my number one.
Yeah, I
Yep.
would have been fine with that too. I think, you know what? I'm,
I
as
mean,
I've
not for the
played.
site, but for me.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I wish I would have put it a little bit higher. I think that last year it was kind of like we were holding our breath for all these games that could potentially come out, and
Yeah.
then they didn't. And then we were like, okay, well, this is what we have.
Yeah.
So let's
No, I
figure
agree.
it out, right? And this year already, I'm like, how am I gonna pick? Like, how if I'm this excited about games, like I'm excited for Dying Light next week. I'm excited for Evolve, which comes out February 10th. Like, those are two pretty big time games right off the bat in 2015 that I am excited about. So
Okay. You know
yeah.
what? Let's go off of that, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
forgo my other topic. I was just gonna talk a little bit more about Suikoden, so you could
Mhm.
Suikoden 2, so you could, if you had any questions about like a classic RPG, like I haven't played it in a long time,
Mhm.
so going back to it now is really kind of an eye-opening experience of like what it was before.
Mhm.
Some of the things that we've gotten past that I'm not, like going back into it, you're like, holy cow, okay, this was revolutionary at the time, but now it's
Right.
compared to just even Bravely Default, some of the stuff that they did in there is just being able to decide when you want to get into battles. Like if you want to get into a bunch of battles in Bravely Default, you just crank it up to 200, and it's like every 2 steps battle,
Right. Right.
Or when you don't want to battle, it's like nonstop.
Yeah.
But and in spite of those faults, still absolutely love it at this point.
No kidding.
But let's go back to your previous topic of games coming out in 2015. I don't think
Yes.
you guys talked about it last week on the podcast. Um,
I talked about my 13 games that I am the most excited for so
that's
far.
right. You did start. You
Yes.
did start
Yeah.
that.
So I did get into that. I want to hear about what you're excited about though.
Not much yet.
Really?
Not a whole lot. Well,
Okay.
part of it is like some of the games that I would be really excited for. I'm not 100% sold that they're coming out this year.
Mhm.
Zelda for the Wii U. Really
Okay.
excited for that, obviously, because it
Me
looks
too.
phenomenal. New
Mhm.
Tomb Raider. Really excited for new Tomb Raider.
Mhm.
Obviously Uncharted 4, but
Mhm.
I I really don't think that's coming out this year.
I
It
don't think
might.
so either.
It might. I think it's got
Mhm.
that window of it's either going to be end of November or it's going to be like March. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like it's going to hit somewhere in between. And
I
Naughty
feel
Dog's
like
got.
those I
Go
feel
ahead.
like those games consistently come out in the fall.
They do, but
Yeah.
if it's not ready, they're not going to push it out early.
No, not at all. This is the last one.
In theory.
Yes, in theory. Yeah.
I honestly think it's too big of a cash cow to say this is the last one. It might be the last Naughty Dog one, but it's not. There's no way it's the last Uncharted.
I don't think Nolan North comes back for it.
Well, they're introducing his brother in this one, so I could see that being like maybe his brother takes over.
Oh gosh, Troy Baker, because we need more Troy Baker.
Of course, yeah. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm oddly excited for Final Fantasy Type Zero, and I know very little about it. But it's everything I've been reading and hearing so far is like this is kind of going to be of all the Final Fantasies lately. This might be one of the best ones that we get for a while. Not because it's like phenomenal looking or anything. It's just a good game.
So funny story about Final Fantasy Type Zero.
Oh.
We've been around for 3.5 years, right?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. So about 3 years ago, when I was working for ExplicitGamer.com, which is no longer around, I had an insider and I broke the story about the Final Fantasy Type Zero, and I had screenshots before anybody else did, and it was something where I looked at it, I was like, wow, this looks like something straight out, like the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Yeah.
Yes, it looked like something out of that, where I couldn't believe that was going to be a game, and now graphically that they are going to be capable of things like that, which I think is really great.
It was a cell phone game, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it a cell phone game in Japan?
Oh, are you talking about it? Maybe we're talking about two different Final Fantasy.
I think we are. I think we are.
I'm talking about the nicer looking one that they've been talking about, where it's got all the guys in the convertible.
That's 15.
15.
That's Final Fantasy. It used to be Final Fantasy versus Agito or I don't know.
Yes.
I can't keep those names straight whatsoever.
But yes, you're right. Okay, Zero. We're on the same page.
All right, hold on. My coworker is at the Blackhawks game and they just won 6-1. So I'm thinking she needs to go to the Blackhawks game every day.
Yeah, if they could turn it around, that'd be great.
Oh well, I mean the Blackhawks have been hit or miss, but the Bulls have been the scary thing.
Ugh, terrible.
They'll turn that around. I'm not worried about them.
Oh yeah.
Too much talent. Let me think. Yeah, Tomb Raider. I am really excited for, and I actually do believe that one's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Let me think. The problem is there's not a whole lot announced yet.
Well, some of the games I talked about was Wild. Do you remember Wild, the PlayStation 4 exclusive where you play as kind of like these cavemen people, and then you can jump to whatever creatures that you see, and you can just play the game through that vantage point?
Nope, don't remember that, but it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yes. No. That was one that I was looking forward to. Yeah. Gosh. I just feel so remote. Oh, No Man's Sky. You're not saying
Oh
anything.
yeah. I was holding on to that one for the end, but yeah, No
Yeah.
Man's Sky. I am also looking forward to more Tales from the Borderlands, which was the first episode. If you haven't played it yet,
hmm
phenomenal.
hmm
And I am kind of hoping for an announcement for another season of Wolf Among Us.
That would be unbelievable. If that happened, I would be so amped. How did The Wolf Among Us not make our top 10? Why?
Uh,
Talk to me about why.
I got a little tired of Telltale games, a little bit. That's what happened.
That's The Wolf Among Us's fault?
I know. It should have made it. I know.
Oh man, this
I don't feel that bad because the game it would have pushed out was actually Mario Kart 8, so I don't feel
yeah.
terrible. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know.
This is the plus 10 damage, top 10 regret podcast. We're
It
the
really
apologist
is. It really
cast.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I still think Forza was probably one of our biggest mistakes. Like, if other people would have played it, I mean, I understand Travis's point of like, this is a racing game.
hmm
How can it be up there? I'm like, because it's the best. But I mean, and I think that's a box that we all need to get out of. Like that box of like, this game is it's good, but it's a racing game, or it's good, but it's a JRPG. It's like right now we're at this point where if it's not an indie game, or if it's not something like an indie game, a fantastic Nintendo game, or like this overly hyped game, it doesn't deserve to be. It doesn't deserve to be number one game. We need to get out of that and just say, if this game is phenomenal and does the best at what it is supposed to do,
Right.
it needs to be considered. And Forza does racing better than pretty much everybody.
Well, it needs to be like an MVP award. It's not like, oh, well, this person isn't a quarterback, so they can't win it, even though that tends to be the case. But or let's bring it over to the NBA. Just because this person isn't a point guard, it doesn't mean that they can't win it.
Right.
It needs to be something, and I completely agree with you. And I think that argument of, well, it's a racing game, so it can't win. Well, what about a first-person shooter? All it is a first-person shooter. It's like just because it has a genre attached to it, it can't limit it. I think that's too bad.
And I think that kind of hurts every time we do our list every year. I kind of feel like it hurts us a little bit. Where I go, everybody's just picking an indie game because they want to make sure an indie game makes it, or they're picking this because they want this. They want or Dragon Age because they want Dragon Age to make it.
Right.
But I'm like, but they don't try. They don't go out of their box. We need to get people out of their box more and be like, this is a racing game. You're right, but it's the best racing game you're gonna play in a long time.
Right. It's kind of like saying. So if you had to think of now, Resident Evil 4, I guess, would be considered a survival horror game, and it won Game of the Year for its time for a lot of different outlets, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So people weren't like, well, that's a survival horror game. Why should this win? It was This was the best game. It needs to come down to that. People need to stop going, I think that's the hard thing once you become a games journalist, though. Like, you have to all of a sudden separate your fandom from the job of being a games journalist.
Right.
And that's not easy. That is not. I still haven't completely done it.
I think our group has gotten better at it, but we're still struggling because Travis especially is on this. If it's not AAA, essentially, if it's indie, he's not trying it. He's not even gonna. He's not gonna play it. Right. You and I still feel like you and I are probably the most broad gamers because we play any indie and we will play any AAA, and we'll give them all a shot. It doesn't even matter what it is. And
as proof to that, I think it's only fair to bring up the fact that one year I believe you said Journey was the best game. And I believe that
I still say that Journey is the best game.
Right, which is an indie game, and because I feel like I get caught talking a lot about AAA lately, and one year my game of the year was The Cave, don't tell. I don't want to hear that we don't obviously care about both sides. Whereas this year, our games of the year were
Mine was South Park, and yours was Wolf Among Us.
yeah. So
And our final game of the year was Bayonetta 2.
Perfect.
Hey, you've been playing that. What did you think?
I thought it's good. I think that there's too much story. I wish there was less. There's a lot of cutscene where I was just like, I don't care. I just skip it.
Okay.
But I think that the action's good. I love how colorful it is. I always thought boss fights in the first Bayonetta were fantastic. So in 2, I feel like they brought it to a whole nother level. I'm perfectly fine that was our game of the year for last year. Like, I don't regret that. I wish I would have got to play it sooner so I could have contributed more to the conversation. But I'm happy that I can now say I have played our game of the year, and I'm okay with it.
Good.
Yeah, so that was good. But yeah,
and something that a lot of us have played or are familiar with was it was nice that it was something that the whole site could be like, yes, this is a winner for us. So let's move on to let's do Auditorial so we can get the show on the road here a little more.
Yeah. Okay.
Last week we didn't have any answers to our I don't know what you guys called it, Mary Buff Kill or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Of Charmander, Bulbasaur, and
Squirtle.
And Squirtle.
That was the weirdest auditorial we've ever had.
It was weird, but it was awesome. It was good. I laughed in the car. I literally LOL'd in the car, which I'll never say that again on the podcast, I promise.
Yeah.
So this week's Auditorial, if you want to answer this, you can. If you're if you're watching us right now, you're welcome to answer in the group chat, and we'll read it out loud. Otherwise, you can go to our website, plus10damage.com, go to our podcast, and answer it there, and we will read it next week. But our question this week is, what video game character represents you the best? Actually, represents you yourself. And the caveat to this is that you cannot pick somebody that is basically like, oh, I'm Commander Shepard, where you literally infuse yourself into that character. So basically pick a fictional character that when they wrote that character, you feel like this character was written for me.
That's really good.
I do like this question.
Okay. Yeah, that is a really good question. I mean, do you have an idea of who you would pick?
It's kind of funny because it changes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I would have picked. As a teenager, I almost certainly would have picked Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, just because you're a teenager and you get in this brooding mode and you're like, I'm gonna be this guy who's a brooder and he gets 2 girls at the same time, but one of them died, so I get the girl with the bigger chest, whatever. And
what a wonderful bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you gonna do? So, that's what it used to be. So it's harder now the older I get because there's not as many characters that I can actually relate to.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I'm like, oh, maybe it's Joel, from The Last of Us, because he's such a down-to-earth character that everybody can relate to, except I don't have a kid, so that makes it.
And you're not that selfish either.
Thank you. But it just he doesn't fit with me, I guess, is the best thing I could say. So. And as weird as this sounds, it's because I kind of threw it at you before. I kind of lean towards the Nathan Drake style of character.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a lot tying me down, except obviously I have my wife, but it's one of those things where if we got the dream job or had a way to get treasure or whatever, we could go do that together, like Nathan and Elena essentially did.
Yeah. Right.
So I lean towards a character like that because there's a lot of others that don't fit. I mean, there's not a ton that really fit in my wheelhouse, anyways. But otherwise, the other no, never mind. We disqualified it. I was gonna say the kind of like the main character from Sunset Overdrive, where it's just kind of off the wall and do whatever you want. The way my job is kind of off the wall, do whatever you want.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of the direction I would go, but we disqualify that because of our no blank characters.
Yes. Okay, so I have 2 very unique characters that some of you might have to dig for.
Sure.
So my first one would be Vincent Brooks. You might know him as the main character in Catherine.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I have,
Oh gosh, that is you to a T.
yeah, right. So there was definitely that point in my life where I was dating someone, um, and then someone else came along who was a lot more fun and blonde, and this is terrible. No, so
It's okay. It's only
uh,
being broadcast for everybody's.
yeah, whatever. So I was dating this one girl, very serious relationship. Now my kid's mother. Things happened between us, and we were kind of just in a talking standpoint. This was before the kids came along. And over this one summer, I met this girl who was blonde. I can only say was blonde just in case this ever gets back to her. And she was like this fun version. And it was like, do I want this stable-ish life, or do I want to have fun for a while? So Vincent Brooks, definitely. Now, if you ask me who I was more like, I would say, have you played the game The Maw?
Haven't played it. Heard about it? Haven't played
Okay,
it.
so it is this game. It was an Xbox Live Arcade game. I believe you can get it on Steam. There is this little alien character, and he ends up having to use this big purple blob that's called the Maw.
Okay.
And I am like the Maw. and the
You're a
reason I say
big purple blob?
Yeah, the reason I say that is because he's a very goofy character in the game, and I consider myself to be a really goofy person, but at the same time, like, he's very resourceful. So there are times where you need to use him, and it's like when I need to be serious, I can be serious, but in general, I tend to be a goofy, fun person. So I would be either Vincent Brooks early in life or the Maw now.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So that is our auditorial for today. So if you want to post it in the chat here, that's fine. Otherwise, you can find us on plus10damage.com, go to our podcast, post it underneath the podcast, and we will answer it next week live on our show. Other than that, I'm gonna quiz you to basically end the show, at least with a game.
Okay.
Besides our I don't even know what we call it at the end. What do you like?
Oh, check it out.
Check it out. That's it. Our check it out at the end of the show. All right, ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
There are 37 answers to this question.
Wow, so I've got a good chance of getting this.
Well, there's 37. You got to give as many as you can.
Oh, okay. Is there a time limit, or do I get a little?
Once you start struggling, we're gonna stop it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right. Most of it's gonna be easy.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Tell me every weapon in the Mario Kart series.
Blue shell, green shell, red shell. There's that big cannon, missile thing that looks. You know what I'm talking about? The one that when you're in last place, it brings you up to first place.
Bullet Bill.
Yes. There's the ghost, which you can steal somebody's thing and then you go invisible. There is, a mushroom, star. There's fireballs, because it was Mario's thing in Double Dash. Yep. There is a big egg, which was Yoshi's thing in Double Dash.
Yes.
There is.
I'll give you another hint. Numbers count for these 37.
Oh, so if there's like 3 green shells, 3 red shells.
Yep.
Okay. There's the Mario Kart 8 Super Special where it gives you everything.
Yep.
Like it surrounds the character.
The Crazy 8.
Yes, Crazy 8. Yes. Okay. There is the horn that will block the blue shell.
Good.
Yeah. There is the the lightning bolt that shrinks everybody.
Yes.
There is the boomerang.
Boomerang. You got it.
Yep. There is a banana peel.
Banana peel. Yep.
There is 3 banana peels.
3 banana peels.
And then there's like a line of banana peels, isn't there?
That counts as a 3 because you put it behind you and it's a 3.
Yeah. Okay. It's just sometimes the line looks so long where I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of banana peels, right?
Yep.
Gosh. Does the glider count?
No.
Okay. I was just curious if that was the case. That is all I think I can come up with.
All right. I got you at 17. You ready
Okay.
for the whole list?
Yes.
Green shell, red shell, poison mushroom, mushroom, banana, feather, lightning bolt,
Better.
ghost, coins, star.
Coins. Coins
Yeah.
count?
Yep.
Oh.
Star, because you can get them in the original Super Mario Kart. You can get them in the card.
Oh, that's right.
Triple green shell, triple red shell, banana bunch, fake item box, triple mushroom, gold mushroom, spiny shell,
Gold mushroom.
fireballs, hearts, Bowser shell, chain chomp, eggs, giant banana, babam, blooper bullet bill, triple banana, thundercloud, pow block, mega mushroom, super leaf, lucky 7, fire flower, crazy 8, super horn, piranha plant, and boomerang flower.
I didn't do too bad.
No, I
I
thought you did pretty good.
Yeah, I got over. I can't believe I missed on the golden mushroom. That was my surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's some surprise in there. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I think for a two-person podcast, that was a pretty good set of answers.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I will agree. I will agree.
All right, so
Oh
why don't
my
we close this sucker out?
Yeah, let's do it. If you want to get a hold of us, feel free to find us at plus10damage.com. Oh, yeah, check it out. Check it out. What is your check it out this week, Steve?
My check it out. Since I'm a librarian, we've been doing our book club, and we just got our new book on Friday. It was called Out of the Easy, and I finished it yesterday. Out of the Easy is a YA book about a girl in New Orleans who is essentially a house cleaner for. She's like a 17 turning 18 house cleaner for a prostitute house, essentially. Her mother's a prostitute who is basically in bed with a gang member, and but the girl works at a bookstore and is trying to get out of that life, and she wants to go to school up in Massachusetts. Now, this is set in the 1950s, so it's much harder to get to a school out there than it is like today.
Yeah.
So there's mobsters, there's murder, there's just some random death stuff. There's a boy that she really likes ends up. Well, I don't want to say it. There's a love triangle. Put it that way.
Mystery and intrigue.
Mystery and intrigue.
Yes.
But for a YA book, it's really, really good. I've even recommended it to my wife, and she's not much of a reader because it's to me it's a phenomenal book that has a sad, happy ending. But awesome book.
Very cool, very cool.
So Out of the Easy.
My check it out would be I taught my friends to play the card game 31. Have you ever played that before, Steve?
I think I have, but it's been a long time. I don't remember it.
31, everybody gets 3 cards. You pull them up. The whole point is there's a deck in the middle. The first card gets turned over, and you're trying to make 31 points in your hand. The aces being 11, all the other face cards being 10, and then the rest of the cards their own numerical denomination.
Okay.
Well, I had a chance. Me and Susie went out over there for dinner with one of my best friends, Amanda, and her husband Steve. So we all got to play that, and I got to teach them how to play 31. Great game. Look it up on the internet. You type in 31 card game. It's a blast. It's easy to play, very easy to teach. And you can win some money too, because there's money involved if you'd like.
Woo!
Woo! All right. If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us at plus10damage.com. You can find me and Steve at plus10matt and at plus10steve on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/plus10matt. We're going to be bringing up the Plus 10 Damage channel soon. If you would like to go ahead and send us questions, feel free to send them to mattb at plus10damage.com. Steve, this was fantastic, and if this is a normal thing, we might have to make it a consistent time so people can Google Hangout with us.
I would agree. I would lean towards 9 o'clock because I can't get home before that usually.
I'm cool with 9 o'clock. So next week at 9 o'clock, we'll be on Google Hangout. Do we have our own Google Hangout place yet or no? No idea.
This is our first experience, so we'll figure it out.
Excellent. Well, until next time, I'm Matt Bosco. That's Stephen Brummel, and you have a wonderful week in gaming.
Bye, guys.